Today we are going to discuss symbols and their impact on the second grade classroom, both for EOL students and for native language speakers. There are two primary content areas in which symbols play an important role: reading and math. As a second grade student, you will not use all of the symbols that will be in both math and reading. However, in reading initially, you will use this mark, this mark, this mark, this mark, this mark, and sometimes even this mark. All of these symbols have different meanings. Some of them have more than one meaning. Let's just look at the first three to start. This mark is called a period. This mark is called a question mark, and this mark is called an exclamation point. Each of these symbols come at the end of a sentence. Periods typically are in general sentences where they're just saying anything. Also, periods work for commands. Question marks are used to ask a question, and exclamation points are used to show excitement. So if you looked at just something like the word what, like when what is said with a question mark, you would put emphasis on the word, as you would say something like what, like what do you want? If you said something like wow and put an exclamation on it, when you say wow, you would want to really emphasize the word. Wow! It shows excitement in your voice. Typically, periods are also used for things like commands to tell people what you want them to do. If you said, go upstairs, you could say it two ways. Go upstairs simply tells someone as a command to go upstairs. If you wanted to add emphasis on it, if you made it an exclamation point, you could say it with more authority. Go upstairs! And people would get the direction you wanted. Now, also, in these same symbols in reading, you have this symbol, which is called a comma. A comma represents a stop point in a sentence, or sometimes in a transition word. All you do when you see a comma is you take a brief pause and then continue. That's how commas are used. The next symbol you see, it looks like a floating comma. It's called an apostrophe. Apostrophes are used in two scenarios. One is to make a contraction. So if you take the word cannot and want it to be can't, you use the apostrophe to change the word. The last symbol is the quotation mark. And if you notice, a quotation mark just looks like two apostrophes right next to each other. Quotation marks are used for any quotations in writing. So whenever you are trying to say what someone directly said, like if you were describing a conversation two people had, you would put quotation marks around those comments to know that they were direct quotes. Now let's move on to math. As a second grade student, you will not come across even 1/100th of all the symbols you'll see in the math classroom. But there's three primary symbols in which you need to know. First, you have the plus sign, then you have the minus sign, then you have the equal sign. Now, the plus sign stands for addition, the minus sign stands for subtraction, and the equal sign tells you that something is to equal something. So let's look at a basic math equation to determine how the symbol is impacted. For example, if I were to say 3, if I were to put these three numbers down, 3, 5, and 8, if I put a plus sign in between the two, I would know that I want to add 3 to 5, and then it would equal 8. Now, the same idea with a subtraction sign, if you put a subtraction sign or a minus sign in between two numbers, followed by an equal sign, you can complete another equation. 10 minus 5 equals 5. Now, obviously, these symbols in mathematics are generally pretty simple. As you move up along the grades, in third grade, you'll encounter both multiplication and division, which we won't get into today because it won't affect a second grade student. Now, looking at all these, there are also some general symbols that are important for second graders, and they actually will probably learn this previously. But when in school, and this also applies when you're in public as well, you'll notice these two symbols. These two symbols, the one here represents men, and this one represents women. You will commonly see these two symbols outside of a bathroom door. Maybe the word bathroom or men's room is not even written at all, and they'll simply just be a symbol on the front door. This is also important to follow, that you know which bathroom to go into. That's all today for symbols.